Brothers and sisters, dear friends, we stand at the edge of a new chapter. And before us is a year that has never been lived by anyone before. It is clean, untouched, and full of promise. Yet, the painful truth is this: most people will reach the end of 2026 carrying the same regrets, the same excuses, and the same unfulfilled dreams they carried into it. Not because they were incapable, but because they were careless with time. You see, time does not ask us if we are ready. Days pass whether we wake up with purpose or sleep through our potential. And slowly, quietly, procrastination convinces us that tomorrow is guaranteed. But how many tomorrows have already slipped away while we said one day? I will change. One day I will start. One day I will become better. The tragedy is not failure. The tragedy is never trying. The tragedy is knowing what must be done, yet delaying it until motivation fades and opportunities move on. A wasted year does not happen in one day, it happens in small moments of neglect repeated daily. But listen carefully, you do not need to be perfect to make 2026 powerful. You only need to be sincere. One sincere decision can redirect an entire life. One moment of awareness can awaken a sleeping heart. This year does not need grand promises, it needs honest commitment. So as this year approaches, ask yourself, will I be among those who look back with regret, or among those who stood up, took responsibility, and grew? The choice is not in the calendar, the choice is in you. Time is not something we own. It is something entrusted to us. This is a reality many people understand intellectually but fail to live by practically. We speak about time as if it belongs to us, my time, my year, my future, yet none of us decide when we would enter this world, and none of us have been promised how long we will remain in it. Every single day we wake up is not a right. It is a gift. And every gift carries responsibility. When you are given something valuable on trust, you are expected to protect it, to use it wisely, and to return it in better condition than you received it. If someone hands you a precious object and says, I will come back for this, you become careful. You don't leave it lying around. You don't waste it. You don't say, I'll think about it later. Yet with time, we behave as though no one will ever ask us how we used it. The danger with time is that it feels abundant when it is slipping away and scarce when it is almost gone. In youth, we assume we have plenty of it, so we delay change, we delay discipline, we delay growth. We tell ourselves we will become serious later, more focused later, more consistent later. But later has a habit of never arriving in the way we imagine. Suddenly years pass, and we are shocked not by how fast time moved, but by how little we did with it. Wasting time is rarely dramatic. It doesn't usually look like one huge mistake. Instead, it looks like small compromises repeated daily. It looks like choosing comfort over progress, distraction over reflection, excuses over effort. It looks like scrolling endlessly, postponing important conversations, neglecting personal development, and assuming there will always be another chance. These choices seem harmless in the moment, but together they shape an entire wasted year. When you truly understand that time is a trust, your mindset changes. You begin to ask different questions. Not how do I kill time, but how do I honor it? Not what's the easiest option, but what's the most meaningful one. You become more intentional with your mornings and more reflective in your nights. You realize that how you spend your ordinary days is how you spend your life. This understanding also brings urgency, but not panic. It's not about rushing or overwhelming yourself. It's about awareness. Awareness that every day is depositing something into your future, either regret or growth. Every hour you invest wisely compounds, just like money does. Small habit done consistently over a year can completely transform a person. Likewise, a small bad habit left unchecked can slowly ruin potential. Another powerful realization is that time is neutral. It treats everyone the same. The successful and the unsuccessful both receive 24 hours a day. The difference is not availability, but accountability. Those who grow are not necessarily more talented or more motivated. They are more conscious of the value of time. They respect it enough to plan, to prioritize, and to say no to things that do not align with their purpose. Understanding time as a trust also softens arrogance and awakens humility. It reminds us that we are not in control of everything. You may plan for tomorrow, but tomorrow is not guaranteed. This does not mean we stop planning. It means we stop delaying what truly matters. It means we apologize sooner, love deeper, work with sincerity, and stop postponing self-improvement as if life will wait for us to be ready. One of the greatest regrets people express later in life is not that they failed, but that they wasted time being afraid of change, afraid of judgment, afraid of starting small. Fear consumes time just as surely as distraction does. When you realize time is a trust, you begin to act despite fear because you understand that inaction is also a decision, and often the most expensive one. This perspective also changes how we view setbacks. When something doesn't go as planned, we no longer say, "I've lost everything." Instead, we say, "What is this moment teaching me?" Even challenges become meaningful because they are still part of how we use our time. Reflection turns loss into wisdom, and wisdom ensures time was not wasted. As our new year approaches, the question is not whether 2026 will pass, it will. The question is in what condition it will leave us. Will it leave us more disciplined or more distracted? More grateful or more regretful? More intentional or more careless? Time will deliver its share, regardless. What we deliver in return is up to us. When you treat time as a trust, you stop waiting for motivation and start relying on commitment. You understand that motivation comes and goes, but responsibility remains. You show up even on days you don't feel inspired because you know that honoring time is bigger than temporary emotion. And perhaps the most beautiful outcome of this mindset is peace. The peace of knowing that even if results take time, effort was sincere. Even if the journey was difficult, the days were not empty. Even if success is still unfolding, the year was not wasted. So remember this, time is speaking to us every single day, silently asking, "What will you do with me?" And one day, without warning, it will stop asking. Make sure when that moment comes, you can answer with confidence, not regret. Distraction is one of the most underestimated dangers of our time because it does not arrive as an enemy. It arrives as entertainment, comfort, and harmless escape. No one wakes up intending to waste a year. People wake up intending to relax for a few minutes, check something quickly, delay something just once, and before they realize it, weeks and months have slipped away. Distraction does not shout, it whispers. It convinces you that what you are doing now is not harmful, that you deserve a break, that you will focus later when conditions are better. And by the time you notice the damage, the year is already half gone. The reason distraction is so powerful is because it feels productive or soothing on the surface. You might be busy all day, your mind constantly stimulated, yet at the end of the day feels strangely empty. You have consumed information, images, opinions, and noise, but produce very little of meaning. This creates the illusion of movement without progress. You feel exhausted, yet nothing essential has changed. This is one of the greatest tricks distraction plays it. Keeps you occupied enough to stop you from feeling guilty, but not focused enough to help you grow. When distraction becomes a habit, purpose slowly fades. Goals that once felt exciting begin to feel heavy. Dreams that once energized you now seem unrealistic. Not because they truly are, but because distraction weakens clarity. When the mind is constantly pulled in different directions, it struggles to commit to one path. You begin many things and finish very few. You plan, but never execute with consistency. over time. This creates frustration, self-doubt, and the belief that you are incapable, when in reality you are simply unfocused. Intention, however, changes everything. Intention is the conscious decision to live deliberately rather than reactively. It is choosing what deserves your attention before the world chooses for you. When you live with intention, you stop allowing your environment, your phone, or other people's expectations to control your time. You decide in advance what matters most and structure your days around those priorities. This does not mean life becomes rigid or joyless. It means your energy is directed rather than scattered. Living intentionally begins with awareness. Awareness of how you start your day, how you spend your free moments, and what consistently pulls you away from your goals. Many people say they lack time, but what they often lack is clarity. When you know what truly matters, you make time for it, even in small ways. Intention turns small moments into meaningful progress. 10 focused minutes daily can outperform hours of distracted effort. Intention also brings discipline, and discipline is often misunderstood. Discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects your future from your impulses. It protects your goals from your moods. When you act with intention, you don't wait until you feel like doing the right thing. You do it because you have decided it matters. This decision, repeated daily, builds strength. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. Of the most powerful shifts intention creates is the ability to say no. No to unnecessary commitments. No to constant availability. No to habits that steal time without giving value in return. Saying no is not a sign of selfishness. It is a sign of respect for your purpose, your energy, and your limited time. Every time you say yes to distraction, you are unknowingly saying no to something more important. Intention also restores depth in a shallow world. It allows you to be fully present in your work, your relationships, and your personal growth. Instead of multitasking your way through life, you begin to experience it with focus and sincerity. This presence strengthens connections, improves quality, and creates fulfillment that distraction can never provide. You start to feel aligned rather than constantly rushed or behind. Another consequence of distraction is emotional numbness. When the mind is constantly stimulated, it rarely has space to reflect. Reflection is where learning happens. Without it, mistakes repeat themselves, patterns go unnoticed, and growth slows. Intention reintroduces reflection. It creates moments of silence where you can ask yourself honest questions. Am I moving in the right direction? Is this habit serving me or stealing from me? These questions, though uncomfortable, are necessary for transformation. As the year unfolds, distraction will always be available. It will always be easier to avoid discomfort than to confront it. But intention reminds you that comfort today can become regret tomorrow. It teaches you to delay short-term pleasure for long-term peace. This is not about removing enjoyment from life. It is about placing enjoyment in the right place after effort, not instead of it. A life led by intention is not perfect, but it is purposeful. You will still have unproductive days, moments of weakness, and times of distraction, but they will no longer define you. You will notice them sooner, correct them faster, and move forward with humility rather than self-blame. Intention turns failure into feedback instead of finality. When you look back at a year lived with intention, you may not see flawless success, but you will see progress. You will see lessons learned, habits formed, and character strengthened. You will feel peace, knowing that you were awake, not drifting. And that awareness alone separates those who waste time from those who grow through it. In the end, distraction asks nothing of you except your attention, and it leaves you with very little. Intention asks more. It asks for effort, patience, and consistency, but it gives back clarity, direction, and fulfillment. The choice between the two is made daily in quiet moments no one else sees. And those quiet choices are what determine whether a year becomes a regret or a turning point. Most people underestimate the power of small daily choices because they are not dramatic. They do not feel life-changing in the moment. Waking up a little earlier, choosing to read instead of scrolling, speaking kindly instead of reacting harshly, saving a small amount, instead of spending it, or showing up consistently even when motivation is low, these actions feel insignificant on their own. Because of this, people delay them, believing that real change requires a big moment, a sudden breakthrough, or perfect conditions. But life rarely changes in leaps, it changes in steps. And those steps are taken every single day. A year is not built in one decision made on the first day of January. It is built in thousands of tiny decisions made when no one is watching. What you choose when you are tired, bored, frustrated, or alone matters far more than what you choose when you are inspired. These moments shape your habits, and habits shape your identity over time. You don't just do certain things, you become a certain type of person. This is why small daily choices are so powerful. They quietly shape who you are becoming. The problem is that the results of these choices are delayed. When you make a bad choice today, the consequences often do not appear immediately. You feel fine, so you assume the choice was harmless. When you make a good choice today, the reward is often invisible at first, so it feels unrewarding. This delay creates a trap. People continue unhealthy patterns because there is no immediate pain, and abandon good habits because there is no immediate pleasure. But time acts as an amplifier. It magnifies whatever you consistently do. Think about how people end up wasting an entire year. It is rarely because of one major mistake. It is because they repeatedly choose ease over effort, distraction over discipline, and comfort over growth. Each choice feels small, but together they create momentum that either carries you forward or holds you back. Once momentum is established, it becomes harder to change direction, which is why starting small and starting early matters so much. Small daily choices also shape your self-trust. Every time you say you will do something and then don't do it, you weaken your confidence in yourself. You may not consciously notice it, but over time, your inner voice changes. You stop believing your own intentions. You begin to think, what's the point? I never follow through anyway. On the other hand, every small promise you keep, no matter how simple, builds integrity within you. You begin to trust yourself, and that trust becomes a foundation for bigger goals. Consistency is more important than intensity. Yet many people get this wrong. They wait for the perfect to give maximum effort instead of giving modest effort every day. They burn out quickly, then disappear for weeks or months. Small daily choices protect you from burnout because they are sustainable. They allow progress to continue even on difficult days. A small step forward is still forward, and over time, it adds up to distance you never thought possible. Another overlooked aspect of small choices is how they affect your mindset. When you choose growth daily, even in minor ways, your mind becomes oriented toward improvement. You start looking for opportunities instead of excuses. You become more patient with the process because you see progress unfolding gradually. This mindset shift is powerful because it keeps you moving forward even when results are slow. You stop quitting too early. Small choices also influence how you respond to failure. When your progress is built on daily effort rather than occasional bursts, setbacks don't feel like the end. You don't collapse because your identity is not tied to one moment. You simply return to your routine and continue. This resilience is what separates those who grow from those who give up. Growth becomes something you practice, not something you wait for. It is important to understand that small daily choices are always being made, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you do not choose your habits intentionally, your environment will choose them for you. Your phone, your surroundings, and your social circle will quietly shape your routine. This is why awareness is critical. Once you become aware of your patterns, you regain control. You realize that change does not require a complete life overhaul. It requires small adjustments made consistently. Many people feel overwhelmed by the idea of improving their life because they focus on how far they have to go rather than how close they can start. Small choices remove that fear. They make change approachable. Anyone can take one small step today, regardless of their circumstances. This creates hope, and hope fuels effort. When people believe progress is possible, they are more likely to persist. As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, something remarkable happens. The small choices that once felt insignificant begin to produce visible results. Skills improve, discipline strengthens, confidence grows. Others may call it luck or sudden success, but you know the truth. It was built quietly, daily, patiently. This is how meaningful change actually happens. By the end of a year shaped by small daily choices, you may not recognize the person you used to be, not because of one dramatic transformation, but because of steady refinement. You will think differently, act differently, and respond differently to challenges. And when you look back, you will realize that the year was not defined by a single moment, but by what you chose to do repeatedly. So never underestimate what seems small. The smallest choices made daily carry the weight of destiny. They decide whether a year is wasted or invested, whether a potential is buried or realized, and whether you move closer to who you were meant to become or further away from it. Regret is one of the heaviest emotions a person can carry, not because it hurts in the moment, but because it lingers. It stays after opportunities have passed and time has moved on. Most regret is not born from failure, it is born from delay. From knowing you should have acted, should have spoken, should have tried, but you didn't. You waited for the perfect moment, the perfect confidence, the perfect circumstance. And while you were waiting, life moved forward without you. Delay feels harmless at first. It disguises itself as patience, planning, or caution. You tell yourself you are being sensible, that you will start when things calm down, when you feel ready, when motivation strikes. But deep down, you know the truth. Readiness rarely arrives before action. Clarity comes after you move, not before. Growth begins the moment you decide, not the moment everything feels safe. One of the greatest illusions delay creates is the belief that time is on your side. You assume you will have the same energy next year, the same chances, the same people, the same health, the same heart. But life does not freeze while you hesitate. Opportunities expire, circumstances change, people move on. And often the door you meant to walk through quietly closes while you are still standing outside, convincing yourself you will knock later. Decisive action does not mean reckless action. It means choosing movement over paralysis. It means understanding that doing something imperfectly is far more powerful than doing nothing perfectly. Many people never grow, not because they chose the wrong path, but because they chose no path at all. They stayed stuck at the crossroads, overthinking every possibility until the moment passed. Regret grows strongest when you realize that the cost of not acting was far greater than the risk of trying. You look back and see that the fear you had was temporary, but the consequences of delay became permanent. This is why regret is so painful. It shows you a version of yourself that could have existed, a life that could have unfolded had you just taken that step. Growth, on the other hand, is always preceded by decision. Every meaningful change in a person's life begins with a moment where they stop waiting and start acting. Not because they were fearless, but because they were tired of staying the same. Decisive action is not about confidence. It is about courage. Confidence often comes after you act, not before. When you take decisive action, something shifts internally. You stop seeing yourself as a passive observer of life and start seeing yourself as a participant. Even if the outcome is uncertain, the act of choosing builds strength. It trains your mind to trust movement. Each decision makes the next one easier. Momentum replaces hesitation, and hesitation is where most dreams die. Delay also feeds self-doubt. The longer you postpone action, the louder the voice becomes that says, maybe you're not capable. But this voice is not truth. It is the echo of inaction. When you finally act, even in small ways, that voice weakens. Proof silences doubt better than reassurance ever could. Action provides evidence that you can grow, learn, and adapt. Another danger of delay is that it normalizes dissatisfaction. You become so used to living below your potential that discomfort feels familiar. You complain quietly, dream occasionally, but accept stagnation as normal. Decisive action disrupts this pattern. It introduces discomfort. Yes, but it is the discomfort of growth, not the numbness of regret. One stretches you, the other slowly empties you. Many people fear making the wrong decision, but few fear the cost of making none. Yet indecision is a decision in itself, one that usually favors fear over possibility. Growth demands risk, but regret demands nothing from you except your peace. And the longer you delay, the more expensive action feels, because now you are not just starting, you are starting late, carrying frustration and lost time with you. Decisive action also brings responsibility. Once you move, you can no longer hide behind excuses. And this is precisely why many people delay. Responsibility is heavy, but it is also empowering. When you accept responsibility for your choices, you reclaim control over your life. You stop blaming circumstances and start shaping outcomes. This is where maturity and growth truly begin. It is important to understand that decisive action does not require knowing the entire journey. It only requires knowing the next step. Life rarely reveals the full path in advance. It reveals just enough for you to move. Those who wait for certainty remain stuck. Those who act with sincerity find their way as they go. Direction becomes clearer with movement. At the end of a year, people are not haunted by the risks they took, they are haunted by the risks they avoided. They don't say, I wish I tried less. They say, I wish I started sooner. Regret whispers late at night, reminding you of moments you postponed that never returned. Growth, however, speaks quietly but confidently, reminding you that you chose to act, even when it was hard. As time moves forward, the question is simple. Will you carry the weight of delay or the strength of decision? One leads to regret, the other to growth. And the difference between the two is not talent, luck, or timing it. Is the courage to act when hesitation feels easier. The moment you stop delaying and start deciding, life responds. Doors open, lessons appear, and strength develops. Not because the path becomes easier, but because you become braver. And that bravery, practiced daily, ensures that when you look back, you will not ask, what if? But instead say, at least I tried. Hope is one of the greatest gifts a human being carries, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people think hope belongs only to the young, the successful, or those who are ahead in life. Others believe hope expires once too much time has passed, once too many mistakes have been made, or once they feel behind. But real hope does not depend on age, timing, or a perfect record. Hope remains alive for anyone who is willing to begin, even if that beginning comes late. One of the most dangerous lies people believe is that it is too late. Too late to change habits. Too late to fix relationships. Too late to pursue growth. This belief paralyzes more people than failure ever could. Failure at least teaches. Despair convinces you not to try at all. Yet if you look closely at life, you will see countless examples of people who began again after years of delay and still transformed their path. The only true deadline is the one that arrives when life itself ends. Starting late often feels embarrassing. You compare yourself to others who seem far ahead and feel ashamed of your position. But comparison is unfair, because you are comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Everyone's journey unfolds differently, and everyone carries unseen struggles. What matters is not how early you started, but whether you are sincere when you do. Sincerity has a way of compensating for lost time. When you decide to start, even after delay, something powerful happens inside you. You shift from self-blame to self-responsibility. Instead of saying, I wasted so much time, you begin to say, I still have time. That shift alone restores energy. Regret drains the heart, but hope revives it. And revival does not require perfect conditions, it only requires willingness. Beginning late also teaches humility. You no longer rely on pride or unrealistic expectations. You approach growth with patience, knowing progress will take time. This humility protects you from burnout and arrogance. It allows you to focus on consistency rather than comparison. You learn to celebrate small wins because you understand their value. Each step forward feels meaningful because you know how easy it would have been to remain stuck. Hope does not erase the past, but it redeems it. Past mistakes become lessons instead of chains. Delays become warnings instead of life sentences. When you start again, you carry wisdom that you did not have before. You know what it feels like to waste time, and that knowledge sharpens your appreciation for every opportunity ahead. In this way, even lost years are not entirely lost, they inform better choices moving forward. Another beautiful aspect of hope is that it grows through action. It is not something you wait to feel before starting. It is something you build by starting. The first step may feel heavy and uncertain, but with each step, confidence grows. You begin to believe again, not because everything is easy, but because you are moving. Motion creates belief. Stagnation destroys it. Many people think they need to fix everything at once when they start late. This creates pressure and often leads to quitting. But hope works best when it is gentle. You don't need to become a completely different person overnight. You only need to become slightly better than yesterday. Over time, these small improvements compound into transformation. Hope thrives on patience. Starting late also deepens gratitude. You stop taking opportunities for granted because you know what it feels like to miss them. You value time, effort, and growth more deeply. This gratitude fuels persistence. When challenges arise, you remind yourself how far you've already come, and that alone keeps you going. There is also a quiet strength in choosing to begin again after disappointment. It means you refused to let your past define your future. It means you chose courage over comfort. That choice builds resilience. Life will test you again, but each time you return to hope, you become stronger. You learn that falling does not disqualify you, refusing to rise does. Hope also reconnects you with purpose. When you begin again, you often ask deeper questions. Why am I doing this? Who do I want to become? These questions bring clarity. Growth stops being about proving something to others and starts being about becoming better for yourself. This internal alignment creates peace, even when progress is slow. At the end of the day, the timeline matters far less than the direction. A late start in the right direction is infinitely better than an early start in the wrong one. Life is not impressed by speed, it responds to sincerity. And sincerity shows in effort, patience, and persistence. So if you feel behind, remember this: being late does not mean being disqualified. It means you still have a choice. And as long as you can choose, hope is alive. Start where you are, with what you have, as you are. One honest beginning can still change everything.